There is something different about them. You have seen them. The person at work who never seems stressed about money, not because they talk about it, because they never have to. While everyone else is doing the quiet calculation, can I afford this? They are simply living, unbothered, unhurried, unafraid. And what is strange is that when you find out what they earn, it is not what you expected. Sometimes it is less than you. Sometimes significantly less. And yet they carry a kind of financial ease that you have been chasing for years without arriving. So the question is not, what do they earn? The question is, what do they know? Because there is something they understand about money that most people never figure out. Not because it is complicated, because nobody ever said it out loud. Until now. Let me tell you about two men. Both live in the same city. Both work in the same industry. One earns $88,000 a year. The other earns $54,000. Walk into the first man's life, the one earning $88,000, and you will find everything you would expect. A nice apartment, a new car in the parking garage, a wardrobe that communicates success, the latest technology, the kind of life that looks, from the outside, like someone who has figured it out. But open his banking app, and you will find a man who is 42 days away from a crisis at any given moment. The income is real. The wealth is performance. Now walk into the second man's life. His name is Marcus. Marcus drives a 4-year-old car he owns outright. His apartment is smaller than the first man's. His wardrobe is not impressive. But open his banking app. Marcus has 14 months of living expenses saved. He invests 18% of every paycheck. His net worth grows every single month whether he works or not. Same city. Same industry. Marcus earns $34,000 less per year. Marcus is the one building something real. This is not a story about income. This is a story about a set of invisible rules that some people follow, and most people never even know exist. Rules that have nothing to do with deprivation, and everything to do with how clearly you can see what money actually is. Before I give you the rules Marcus lives by, I need to give you the concept that makes all of them make sense. Because without this one idea, the rules are just discipline. With this idea, the rules are liberation. Here it is. Every financial decision you make is not actually a financial decision. It is a time decision. Let me explain what I mean. When you buy something, anything, you are not exchanging money for an object. You are exchanging hours of your life for an object. Because money is not an abstract number. Money is compressed time. Every dollar in your account represents a specific number of minutes you traded your life for. So when you spend $200 on something you will use twice, you are not spending $200. You are spending however many hours of your working life it took you to earn $200 after tax. For most people, that is somewhere between 8 and 12 hours. 8 to 12 hours of your one and only life exchanged for something you will use twice and then ignore. This reframe changes everything. Because when you see money as compressed time, suddenly the question is never, can I afford this? The question becomes, is this worth my life? And most purchases fail that question immediately. Not because you are depriving yourself, because the honest answer, when you frame it correctly, is no. My time is worth more than this. Marcus figured this out at 27, and it changed everything that came after it. Rule 1. Stop paying for things twice. Every purchase has two price tags. The first one is visible. It is the number on the receipt. The second one is invisible, and it is often larger than the first. The second price tag includes the space the object occupies in your home. Space is not free. If you live in an apartment, every square foot of that apartment costs you money every month. Every item you own that you do not use regularly is renting space from you at your full monthly per square foot rate. The second price tag includes the maintenance the object demands. Cars, boats, appliances, outdoor equipment, everything you own requires ongoing attention, occasional repair, and eventual replacement. The industry standard for annual maintenance is 10% of an object's value. A $20,000 vehicle costs $2,000 a year just to keep operational, before fuel, before insurance. The second price tag includes the mental rent, the object charges. Every possession you own occupies a small but real portion of your cognitive attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, maintained, worried about, and eventually disposed of. Research consistently shows that visual clutter elevates cortisol and the stress hormone and reduces the brain's capacity to focus and make clear decisions. Your stuff is quietly taxing your mind every single day. The second price tag includes the opportunity cost. Every dollar tied up in possessions is a dollar not compounding in your investment account. $20,000 of items you do not genuinely use is $20,000 that could have become $60,000 or $70,000 in 10 years. When you add the second price tag to the first, most purchases look completely different. The question changes from, can I afford to buy this, to, can I afford to own this? Those are not the same question, and most people have only ever asked the first one. Rule 2. Before you buy anything, run the life hours calculation. This is the practical version of the time-money reframe I gave you earlier. It works like this. Calculate your true hourly rate. Take your after-tax monthly income. Divide it by the hours you work in a month. That is the real rate at which you are exchanging your life for money. Now, before every purchase, convert the price into hours. A $300 item at a $20 true hourly rate costs 15 hours of your life. Ask yourself honestly, would you work 15 additional hours specifically to own this thing? If the answer is yes, buy it with full confidence. It is worth your life. If the answer is hesitation or no, that hesitation is information. Your brain already knows the truth before you do. Marcus uses this calculation for everything above $50. Not because he is obsessive, because it takes 4 seconds, and it has saved him from hundreds of purchases over the years that he would have regretted within a month. The life hours calculation also reveals which purchases are of extraordinary value. A quality mattress used every night for 10 years at $1,500 costs you less than 1 hour of your life per month. For something that directly affects your energy, your health, and your cognitive performance every single day, that is a bargain by any honest measure. A streaming service used daily for entertainment costs less than an hour of your life per month. A gym membership you actually use regularly costs a fraction of an hour per day. The calculation cuts through marketing, through social pressure, through the manufactured urgency of a sale. It leaves only one question standing. Is this worth my life? Rule 3. Diagnose every purchase. Want to want, or genuinely need. This is the rule most people have never heard. And once you hear it, you will see it operating everywhere in your spending. When you feel the impulse to buy something, it is not always genuine desire. Sometimes it is genuine desire. You have thought about this for weeks. You know exactly how you will use it. You understand its value in your specific life. You want it. But often it is something quieter and more manipulated than that. Often it is not that you want the thing. It is that you want it. Someone showed it to you. An advertisement. A social media post. A colleague mentioning they have one. And now it occupies space in your mind, not because it serves your genuine needs, but because it has been introduced into your awareness, and your brain is processing it as a desire. You do not want this thing. You want the version of yourself that wants this thing. The outdoorsy self that would use the camping gear. The culinary self that would use the expensive cookware. The athletic self that would use the home gym equipment. The stylish self that would actually wear all of those clothes. These are not desires. These are identities you are trying to purchase. And you cannot purchase an identity. You can only build one through consistent action. Marcus learned to ask himself one question before any purchase. If nobody ever saw me own this, if it never appeared on social media, if nobody ever complimented me on it, if it served me in complete private anonymity, would I still want it? If yes, it might be genuine. If the honest answer is no, he is buying an audience, not an object. And audiences are expensive to maintain. Rule 4. Design your environment to work for you, not against you. Here is something most financial advice completely ignores. Willpower is a finite resource. It depletes throughout the day. It depletes faster when you are stressed, tired, hungry, or emotionally vulnerable, which is exactly when most financial mistakes happen. Building your financial life on willpower is like building a house on sand. It works when conditions are perfect. It fails when they are not. The people who always have money do not rely on willpower. They rely on environment design. They have restructured the world around them so that the right financial choice is also the easiest choice. What does this look like in practice? They do not store credit card information on shopping websites. The extra 30 seconds of friction required to enter the card number is enough to break the spell of most impulse purchases. They automate savings to move on payday before they see the money, before they spend the money, before their brain has a chance to generate reasons why this particular month is an exception. They remove shopping applications from their phones, not because they lack self-control, because they understand that presence creates desire. Out of sight, genuinely, is out of mind. They do not browse stores without a specific intended purchase. Browsing is not a neutral activity. It is exposure to thousands of carefully engineered stimuli designed by some of the most sophisticated marketing minds in the world. Every browsing session is a battle between your financial goals and their professional expertise at manipulation. The easiest way to win that battle is to not show up. Marcus restructured his environment at 29. He automated 20% of his income to his investment account on the 1st of every month. He removed every shopping application from his phone. He unsubscribed from every promotional email. He stopped entering stores without a written list and a specific budget. None of these required willpower. They required one decision each. One decision that then ran automatically without further effort. That is the architecture of financial discipline. Not white-knuckling your way through every temptation. Building a life where most temptations simply never reach you. Rule 5. Apply the ownership audit. Would you buy it again today? Walk through your home. Look at everything you own. For each item, ask one question. If I did not own this, and I encountered it in a store today knowing what I know now, would I pay money to bring it into my life? Not would I have bought it. Would I buy it right now? This question cuts through the sunk cost fallacy, the psychological trap of keeping things because you already spent money on them. The money is gone regardless. The question is whether the item currently earns its place in your life. For most people, the honest audit reveals that 20 to 40% of what they own would not be repurchased. These items are not neutral. They cost space. They cost mental energy. They cost maintenance attention. They cost the financial value they could generate if sold. Items that fail the ownership audit are not possessions anymore. They are liabilities. Marcus does this audit twice a year. Not dramatically. Not as a major project. He walks through his apartment on a Sunday afternoon with a notepad. Every item that fails the question goes on a list. Everything on the list gets sold, donated, or discarded within 2 weeks. The discipline is not in the purging. The discipline is in not reaccumulating. That is the harder part. Rule 6. Understand lifestyle gravity and resist it deliberately. Lifestyle gravity is the force that pulls your spending upward as your income rises. You earn more, so you spend more. On a nicer apartment, a newer car, more expensive meals, better clothes. The version of every category that matches your new income level. This feels like progress. It is a trap. Because lifestyle gravity is a one-way door. Every spending level you establish becomes your new baseline, your new normal, the floor beneath which discomfort begins. And when income drops, as it sometimes will, the distance between your established lifestyle and your new reality becomes not just financial stress, but psychological crisis. The people who always have money understand something that most high earners never figure out. Income going up is not a reason to spend more. It is an opportunity to save more. The correct response to a raise is not to upgrade your apartment. It is to increase your investment contribution. The correct response to a bonus is not to book the expensive vacation. It is to send the money directly to your investment account before your lifestyle has time to propose alternative uses for it. Marcus received a significant raise at 31. He upgraded nothing. He increased his investment contribution by the full after-tax amount of the raise. His lifestyle did not change. His net worth trajectory did. Within 3 years, that single decision compounded into a financial position that gave him choices that money could not otherwise buy. This is the rule that separates people who look wealthy from people who actually are. The person who looks wealthy spends every raise. The person who actually is wealthy saves every raise. Rule 7. Define what enough actually means in writing. Here is the trap that no financial advice ever warns you about. If you never define what enough looks like, you will spend your entire life running toward a finish line that keeps moving. Every time you approach it, it moves further. More income creates, more desire creates, more spending creates, more need for income. The wheel turns forever, without arriving anywhere. The most financially liberated people in the world have done something that sounds almost embarrassingly simple. They decided what enough looks like, not what they could afford, what they genuinely need to live a life that feels full and satisfying. What level of home provides genuine comfort versus what level is performance for people who will not care in a week? What kind of transportation serves their actual needs versus what communicates a status they are not sure they actually want to communicate? What wardrobe meets their genuine requirements versus what satisfies the need to feel like they are keeping up with something? They wrote it down, and then they stopped there. Not because they could not afford more, because they decided more was not the goal. Freedom was the goal. And freedom is purchased not with more things, but with the gap between what you earn and what you spend. The wider the gap, the more freedom you accumulate. The narrower the gap, the more trapped you become, regardless of the income level that creates it. Marcus defined enough at 30. He wrote it in a notebook, and he has looked at it every time his income has increased since then. Not as a constraint, as a compass. A reminder of what he decided he actually wanted before the raises started arriving and the options started multiplying. That notebook has been worth more to his financial life than any investment strategy he has ever read. Rule 8. Measure your wealth in options, not in objects. Most people measure their wealth in what they have. The house, the car, the wardrobe, the visible markers that tell the world and themselves that they have arrived somewhere. The people who actually have money measure their wealth differently. They measure it in what they can choose. Can you walk away from a situation that is destroying you because you have enough saved to survive the uncertainty of leaving? Can you say no to an opportunity that pays well, but compromises something that matters to you? Can you absorb a financial shock, a medical expense, a job loss, a necessary repair, without it becoming a catastrophe? Can you take time, real time, weeks or months for something that matters to you without the financial pressure making it impossible? Can you retire on your own timeline instead of the one your employer's pension assumes? These choices, these options, are what wealth actually buys, and they are only available to people who have built a significant gap between their income and their expenses. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no options. They are financially chained to their income requirement. Remove the income, and the lifestyle begins collapsing immediately. The person earning $60,000 but spending $35,000 has extraordinary options. They can absorb shocks, take risks, make choices based on what they actually want rather than what they financially must do. Every purchase that closes the gap between your income and your expenses is a purchase that removes options from your life. Every purchase worth making should be examined through this lens. Is this object worth a reduction in the freedom to choose how I live? Sometimes yes. For most purchases honestly examined, the answer is no. Rule 9. Never let the purchase become the personality. This is the rule nobody talks about, because it requires an uncomfortable honesty about why we buy things. There is a pattern in people who chronically overspend. They are not buying objects. They are buying identities. The outdoorsy identity requires the gear. The sophisticated identity requires the wardrobe. The successful identity requires the car. The culinary identity requires the kitchen equipment. The problem is not the identity itself. The problem is the belief that the object creates the identity. It does not. The person who actually climbs mountains does not need the expensive gear to feel like someone who climbs mountains. They know they climb mountains. The object follows the identity. It does not create it. When you buy the object hoping it will create the identity, you end up with expensive equipment in your closet and the quiet awareness that you never became the person you were trying to buy your way into being. The financial cost of identity shopping is enormous. Most people have spent tens of thousands of dollars on objects that were supposed to tell a story about who they are. The objects sit in closets and garages. The story was never told, because you cannot buy your way into a story. You have to live your way in. Marcus stopped buying identities at 28. It was the most financially liberating decision he ever made. Not because he became less ambitious, because he stopped paying for versions of himself that only existed in stores. Rule 10. Understand the virtuous cycle and get into it deliberately. Here is the final truth that explains everything else. The relationship between spending and financial security is not one-directional. It works in both directions simultaneously. Spending less creates savings. Savings create security. Security reduces the psychological need to spend. Reduced spending accelerates savings further. Each revolution of this cycle builds on the previous one. The momentum compounds. Within a few years of getting into this cycle deliberately, financial anxiety begins to dissolve. Not because of a massive income, because the security is real, and the brain can feel it. And when the brain feels security, the desperate quality leaves your spending entirely. You stop buying things to fill a feeling, because the feeling is already filled by actual financial strength. The opposite cycle is equally powerful, and far more common. Spending everything creates insecurity. Insecurity creates the emotional need to spend as temporary relief. Temporary relief deepens insecurity. The cycle continues sometimes for decades until something forces a breaking point. Most people reading this know which cycle they are in. The beautiful truth is that the exit from one cycle and the entrance into the other requires only one thing: a decision. Not a perfect month, not a perfect income, not perfect timing, just the decision to apply one rule this week, then another next week, then another the week after, until the cycle turns. And then, momentum does the rest. Marcus is 36 now. He earns more than he did at 27. Not dramatically more, but enough that the gap between what he earns and what he spends has widened considerably. He has options that most people around him, many of whom earn significantly more, do not have. He could leave his job tomorrow and sustain his life for 2 years without panic. He could absorb a significant financial shock without it becoming a crisis. He could retire meaningfully earlier than the conventional timeline assumes. He could say no to things that do not align with how he wants to live. None of this came from a secret investment. None of this came from exceptional income. All of it came from 10 rules that most people never hear applied consistently over 9 years. The rules are not about having less. They are about being clear. Clear about what money actually is. Clear about what purchases actually cost. Clear about what you actually want. And clear about what kind of life you are actually building. Because the person who is clear builds wealth, regardless of their income level. And the person who is not clear cannot build it, regardless of how much they earn. The silent rules of people who always have money are not secrets. They are just things most people never slow down long enough to understand. Until now, classy wealth exists for exactly this: the understanding that changes the direction. Subscribe, because the next video is going to reveal something that will challenge every assumption you have about what financial success actually requires. Specifically, there is a habit that almost every financially successful person shares. It has nothing to do with budgeting, nothing to do with investing, and nothing to do with income. It is something far simpler and far more powerful than any of those things. And most people dismiss it because it does not sound financial enough. That video is coming. And if you are serious about understanding how money really works beneath the surface, you need to be there. Until then, pick one rule from today. Just one. Apply it this week. Not perfectly, just consistently. And watch what begins to shift.